back. We're the Book Mavens. I'm Amanda, she's Rachel, and you're joining us for Faye May. And we're on the final series by Sarah J. Maas, the new Crescent City series. It's said it's going to be a trilogy. So right now, there is The House of Earth and Blood, which is the first book, and then there's The House of Sky and Breath, which is the second book. So these are the two books that are currently available in this series. So there should be at least one more sometime. In this book, we're trying to solve the mystery of what happened to Danica, okay, and her wolf pack.
Danica and what Danica does is the central theme for both books, honestly, because the second book is also unraveling things that Danica has been investigating. So you find out more things about Danica and what she had done before the tragedy that happens in the first book. So the first and second book are very centered around Danica. And they just are. Yeah. It's just, she's a central point and what she's been doing. And there are definitely some opinions about how that was orchestrated that are mixed.
Yeah.
So
we kind of have to talk about these separately the same way we did with A Quarter Thorns and Roses, where we talked about the first three books and then the later books. So, okay. This series is supposed to be her adult series. This is how it was marketed. The themes are definitely darker.
They're adult.
They're definitely adult, right? It's spicy in places.
It's not even the spice level.
It's really it's the themes. It's the things that happen. It's the level of violence. It's kind of, it's a darker, grittier book. It reads, you know what it was, when I was reading it, it sounded to me and like it pictured to me the way that you had described Jade City. This just kind of rougher, kind of darker underbelly feel is how Crescent City sounds to me when I read it.
Well, Crescent City is a combination of high and low fantasy. So that is something that's really interesting because you have the high fantasy aspects in that this is a different world. It is not, we're not in our world, right? But it's still full of all of our stuff, like cars and electronics and phones.
They all have their cell phone with them all the time.
I kind of like that it's this hybridized version that we don't always, it's kind of rare to see that. So that's really fun. And I like how she incorporated it. The first book is very dense in terms of detailing the world building.
The caste system. There's a very clear hierarchy.
Yeah, and just you have all these different houses and who belongs to which house and where they fit in terms of the caste system and what abilities they have. It's just like this hodgepodge of stuff. And in the first book, Sarah J. Maas does a really good job in terms of illustrating all of that. Is it a little tricky to keep up with the first 150, 200 pages? Of course, but you're introducing a whole new world.
But then you get into it.
And it's complex. And it's fine. Yeah, but I know that some people had to chart it out. I think when I read it with the girls, we charted it out. It just made it a little easier.
It was fine. I have to say this. I like that all the fantasy species, I guess, are all there together. There's the vampires. There's the fae. There's the angels, which is a new for Sarah J. Maas. She's never done the angels before. We've got witches. We've got werewolves.
No, she has. She did it in Agatar.
Did she?
They have wings. They have feathered wings.
But they're not called angels. They're
not called angels, but they're the same thing.
Well,
they have feathered wings. I mean, because we call them angels here, but there's no Christianity reference in any of these books.
No, that's just what they're called. Right. But they're flying humanoids. They're humans with wings. Sure. Anyway, I liked that they were all mixed into there together. I liked the new system. It is much more political. It is kind of a very politically driven book in terms of the plot. Like a lot of the mystery centers around, kind of unresolved or the truth behind the stories they're always told or whatever about who's in charge, the Asteri. So I liked that a lot. And it appealed to my mystery-loving self, the first book, for sure. And I didn't mind Bryce. I actually really liked her as a very flawed character. She is, honestly, she's super messed up by the trauma. And it's a great book, her journey to, in the process of learning all this and forgiving herself and, learning to move forward despite all this grief and trauma is really well done. I really liked it. And I thought it was a really beautiful part of the book. It reminded me of the later Throne of Glass books in the way that she has to learn to live with the trauma and move forward.
She's very Air of Fire.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a very different character though, because she's not immediately she's not immediately likable, I think, for some people. I didn't dislike her, but I think some people didn't really like her at first, and then they kind of like come around to her. But I mean, I didn't have that problem per se.
I like Bryce. I mean, to me, she's like, she's a good representation of anybody who has a friend where their whole life is tied up to that friend, and they have a shared traumatic experience that you find out about later on in the book, and that she's somebody who is very carefree, who has led a very kind of interesting life, and like, I get it. I understand this idea of being able to, of trying to like let go and trying to figure out who you are as a person and the things that she's doing. She does show evidence of not self-harming behaviors like cutting or anything, but how she kind of navigates. She punishes herself a lot for things.
She does what is often a destructive cycle. She's substance abuses. She's so harsh on herself. She doesn't stand up for herself because she somehow feels like she deserves it.
Well, the drug use happens before the big trauma. And then once the big trauma, she goes stone sober.
That's
true. She's not doing anything.
I do think it's really interesting that she continues to let people think that she continues on.
Well, that's
in those
part
ways.
of that whole kind of like self-flagellation kind of deal. You know, like she's beating. She feels that she deserves to be treated that way. That she is trash because she was out partying while her best friend and the whole wolf pack were being slaughtered, and she wasn't there for anything, and that she's getting all kinds of verbal abuse from Danica's mother, Sabine,
who's just a terrible person anyway, but
she is really awful.
That's later, guys.
She stays awful. I don't know.
She's awful the whole time. I don't know how Haas is gonna bring her around because I don't see it.
I don't think she is. So no, I don't think it's. I don't like her. But yeah, so she blames herself for not being there, and you see her. I mean, when she busts in, she chases this creature down and saves an archangel who, Micah is his name, and he's at the top. If we want to talk about the caste system, he's like,
he's the governor.
He's kind of over
territory,
Crescent City.
So, and then you meet Hunt. So Hunt is assigned to help investigate the attacks and to investigate some other things that are happening that turn out to be related to what happens with Danica and her wolf pack. And so that's how they first intersect is
he's the Umbra Mortis.
Yeah, the Umbra Mortis. The governor assigns them to work together on this task. And then of course Hunt has his own very complex, like I'd say
he's a slave.
Yeah, because of a failed rebellion. He's like Rowan level complicated. Maybe even more than Rowan, like tragic backstory wise. But I really like the complexity of the characters in the first book, I will admit.
He's not as complex to me as Rowan, but yeah.
I don't know. I almost wonder if his trauma's not deeper. That's just personal thoughts for another time.
I don't think Mass went into it on the same level that she did with Rowan.
Well, I don't think there's been the time.
There's the potential.
That's for sure.
Well, no. Girlfriend had a lot of time. She just spent her time on other things.
Listen. All right, shall we dive into the second?
Hold on. Just go ahead. Sorry. I just want to throw that in there.
I like Hunt a lot as a character. He's complicated.
He didn't bother me. He's fine.
He's fine. Okay.
He's fine. I like aspects of Hunt.
I would say Rowan, Hunt, Reese. To it. Okay. Other thoughts on this book before we dive into the second book?
It wraps up well. There's some great scenes where we, of course, find out that Bryce has a bit of a hidden secret. You know, she's half fae, half human. So on her fae side, turns out that she's inherited all of this power.
Like super cool.
Yeah. Well, she can really light it up. Let's just put it that way. So she does this big thing. I mean, she's kind of set herself up to be this heroine for the weak, for the humans. And she works very hard when there's destruction in the city. There's kind of this invading force that she really helps and kind of motivates everyone to be able to fight against this force. So she's pretty cool that way. But the best scene in this book is when she's confronting the big baddie, the enemy.
Oh my gosh.
And so they have this whole stand down and their entire interaction, but you also have a death of a beloved character, and I cried through that
scene. Such a roller coaster section of the book.
But girlfriend with that Hoover, if you've read the book, you know what we're talking about. And so that scene is written very, very well. And A lot of people talk about just how ridiculous it is and all this
But
stuff
it's
is
so
going on
great.
while all of her friends, right, are literally watching her on a monitor. And
I think she knows that, but I don't think she's like processing that in the moment. You know what I mean? I think she's a little bit more concerned.
No, but it's just that these people are all watching her instead of getting off their asses and going to help.
It's such a human nature, but it's such a human move, right?
I just think she did it so we could be able to read the commentary. Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. Turns out, Bryce has some hidden talents. Dad was her adopted dad was a big military, so she's been trained to do a lot of, cool stuff. So anyway, yeah, she's pretty.
That's such a good scene.
And see, this is why I like Bryce. You've been with this channel at any point in time, a strong female protagonist, and I think Bryce does that. And so I think that Mass does fairly well with strong female protagonists.
I went into this book, the first book, with very low expectations. I actually was not planning to read this series before we did this month, because she had written this book about the same time that she'd written Silver Flames, and that one had just burned me so badly. See what I did there? But I did not enjoy Silver Flames so much and then everybody was talking about how this Silver Flames was like the spicy level that this book was supposed to be. And I was
very slow burn.
I'm just not interested. I just wasn't interested because I didn't like Silver Flames very much. And then I was so pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed this one as much. I mean, it's just a good old whodunit in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then the second book, this one
she's committed so the big star of this book is, Bryce is fine. She's just fine to me in this book. But Rune, her brother, her half-brother, to me, shines in this. He does.
Okay.
He does. You don't agree?
No, I don't disagree. I'm waiting for you to. I'm listening.
No,
I'm ready to
He gets more page time. His relationship with Bryce develops and grows, and you get to see, because this is a multi-perspective book, which some people didn't like. See, I like multi-perspective books. I find that to be very subjective. And what people I like to be able to be in all these different characters' heads. Some readers find it very distracting, where they get very attached to one character and they just kind of want to fast forward and just see. I like everybody. I like it to expand, and so you do get to spend some time with Rune. You get a little bit of Rune in here, but he gets his own chapters and stuff.
I do agree with you. I really love the sibling development relationship in this book. That was one of the strongest parts of this book, was the sibling development relationship.
Yes, absolutely. So Rune really comes out, I think, for that, and what he has kind of sacrificed in a way.
You learn
a
lot.
You learn a lot about him. But I love him and the whole bromance with all of the dudes. That you have to realize that these guys are 70 plus years old. They are.
Yeah.
And they live it's a frat house. And there's something about that I find just hysterical. And
I love the scene where Hypaxia, the queen of the witches, she comes over to their house, and she's just you can just see her perched on the couch, because she doesn't really want to touch anything. But you can just see her, and he's just he tells Ethan, he's it sounds like it's the equivalent of marijuana. He's like, you need to get that marijuana off the table right now. And he's like, not when she's looking.
It's called mirth root.
It is this embarrassing, oh crap, this person that we're trying to make a better impression on is showing up unexpectedly, throwing things under the couch.
It's just very, they live it's a giant frat house. And
part of me is boys.
It's just, but to
together.
Me that's very entertaining. People who I think the whole Bat Boys idea, we'll talk, I guess, some more about, but you see a little crossover these men who have these close relationships, these friendships, and I like to read about that. I always think that's very interesting as a woman. I get the whole, when girls come together or whatever, but it's always fun to get the other side of it.
Maybe it's because I'm not in
those are the funniest.
I am.
Those are the funniest scenes, though, when it's just the dudes being dudes, and I thought that just really, I think, highlighted comedic moments.
Well, and I think
Rune trying to point out some of the positives.
Rune says it at one point at the ball. He's like, you got to rebel where you can. And that's one of the ways that they all rebel, is the way that they live in this house
together.
But I love the way they talk about it. They're like, this house isn't going to last much longer. Because they do like zero upkeep. And they just party all the time in it. But
so we need to talk about Ethan, because Ethan,
okay,
if you take away the whole beginning of Ethan, there was no point. All right, so Ethan is in the first book. He's Connor's younger brother, and Connor, of course, is one of the wolves that gets killed. Ethan wasn't there. He doesn't die. He's much younger. And then it turns out in this one that he's had this whole
secret
mooning
crush
over Bryce, and I'm like, barf. Didn't need to be in there. Didn't add anything to the plot. Totally pointless. Totally pointless. But then later on, they're visiting the seer person, right? Like, it was very Minority Report. Did you ever see Minority Report?
That's what it reminded me of.
She totally stole that from Minority Report.
Yeah,
Have you ever
that's
seen that
exactly.
movie with Tom
Even
Cruise?
like the way they describe it,
like in
the
water.
Yeah, I was like,
floating.
okay, I've seen this show.
Yeah.
I know where this goes.
Anyway, and then turns out that there's like this female alpha wolf in there, and he's trying to break her out and stuff. That storyline was great.
That was so
I wanted
cool.
more of that. And
Okay,
then
that
they free the little.
You're gonna have to pick that up in the next one.
Yes,
I love that now they just like float around Flynn like a Greek chorus.
Yeah.
That to me is.
Well, we see the little fire sprites. We saw a fire sprite in this one. I can't talk about her. But yeah, Lily, but we can't talk about her. But like, there's other ones that they free. And, you know, Bryce is very big on, he's very anti-slavery, as should we all be. And, you know, anyway, so they end up getting these little fire sprites out. And yeah, and they're just living at the bro house.
Just living at the bro house. And they, like, Flynn in particular, because I think he's the one who actually broke the rings. They were entrapped in rings.
Yeah.
Like, that this creepy guy was.
And then there's another one.
And then they just, like, and the way it describes them, and they're like, he'll do something, and they'll go, ooh. Or like,
they're just really cute.
It sounds like a Greek chorus. And you're just like, you just love it. It's his own little fan club, which really just plays right into his to his character. So, and then I mean, other relationships or like things that I like.
In there.
There's okay,
but we think she's gonna come back around.
There's some threads that feel like they're very clearly going to be important and get picked up, like the alpha wolf, like the dragon. Maybe. Boy, we hope
this
so.
one. There's this white cat named Adis. From like a demon realm or some nonsense like that, right? But then he's in there for like 2 seconds.
No, he is, but no, you didn't. At the end, it was a trick. It wasn't Adis. It was somebody else.
No,
pretending to be
I
Adis.
know, but like this one had Adis, and everybody thought he was going to be a thing.
Maybe he will be in the third book, but then he like pops up again. But it was somebody pretending.
We'll talk about some theories.
At the end, I did get a little bit like I was like, whoa, and I had to like go back because it got a little bit too in the big reveal of the villain, like explaining everything. I was like, wait, hold on, wait, what?
The expository got a little bit too much. The way that she used exposition in this one, it was too much. She should have spread it out. We'll talk more about that in a minute in terms of how she used her pages in this one. But like this one, you have a big exposition at the end, but it makes sense because it set up like a mystery novel for there to be an exposition. And that's done so well in this one compared to the hot mess that was the pacing of this book.
There's so many threads that just get dropped or they just fizzle out very unsatisfactory. Like the whole prologue is about this firebird, and then the firebirds end up not really mattering. And it's all about this like missing child, and then it resolves itself very anticlimactically, and then like there's just a lot of energy spent on things that end up not being particularly important to the plot. Like I understand that Cormac came and got betrothed to Bryce because, you know, as a way to get him into the city, and then you discover he's a rebel and blah blah blah, and now, you know, that's how they start interacting with the rebels. And I'm there, but then just like it just gets resolved, and then
they
just kill Cormac, and you're like, which is kind of a bummer because I was starting to like him. I was like,
they could have done the whole rebel thing again, because in this one, like a kind of a rebel terrorist gets put away, and then and they interview him. Like, why wouldn't they have pursued that lead in order to develop the whole rebel storyline? Yeah. There are so many different ways. It's just like, so you have all of these threads hanging down, and I just feel like she just pursued the wrong ones.
And just feel like
added things that just didn't need to be in
Cormac's
there.
connection to the rebels, like why he got involved in the first place, didn't really read very authentically to me. Okay, also, the thing I disliked the most about this book was the posthumous character assassination of Danica.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This one we are totally, I think, agreed on.
Maybe.
As she keeps discovering more and more about Danica, she's discovering like
secrets.
more and more secrets that Danica had that are really.
Do you remember what is that one that is it like a meme? Or is it like from something? Why is her hair so big? Because it's full of secrets.
Yeah,
what is that from?
Secrets.
That's what I think. I'm like, no, I just imagined her with this huge,
full of all her secrets.
and she doesn't. But like, whatever.
But
so maybe all of her multicolors, those are all of her secrets.
But like, but here's the problem: Bryce's whole arc, her whole like redemption, grief, like her whole identity is tied up in this relationship that she had with Danica, right? This kind of friend soulmate thing. And then all of these
so
secrets and lies that
in the first
were
book.
kept for her are really undermining Bryce's memories, right? And undermining her confidence in this relationship that she had with Danica, this very like identity building relationship for her. And there's still some of it but I don't understand why she would have kept that secret. And then she has a mate.
Yeah. Why? What purpose? What purpose?
And you're telling me
that
she okay, listen, ladies and gents, you can't tell me this is true. You're telling me you found your mate, you're like at a biological level connected mate level story, like the way this story talks about mates, and you didn't go tell your bestie?
I just don't believe it. I do not believe
you. There's no possible way that you can keep that a secret and have the relationship that we were led to believe that Bryce and Danica had.
Yeah, but Danica knew Bryce had that power. Like,
that's
she
true.
kept Bryce's. So why wouldn't
she
entrust anything to Bryce? So, like, the whole thing with Danica, like, once again, that she had a connection. We know that she had a connection with the terrorist group. That I forget his name. Like, the human terrorist rebel had been working with Danica and at some level. Why wouldn't, and he's introduced again, and why wouldn't you have pursued the rebel connection that way?
They're just making their relationship seem so much more one-sided.
It's
like
cheapened
to Bryce
now.
Because
I don't like it.
It feels like Bryce was the only one confiding in Danica, and that Danica was really not reciprocating, and that is not the depth of friendship that we were led to believe. So
Bryce was Danica's family.
Yeah,
Danica's family sucked.
I dislike her father very much.
Totally.
Oh my gosh!
Why?
He was.
Then she could sniff out abilities.
Like, he creeped me out just reading about. I got
he was gross.
Yuck. Ugh. Anyway, so Danica has no home life, and then so this group is supposed to be family, and then like
it just doesn't. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Like
it just didn't need to be done.
Not that I think Sarah J. Maas is using it as a convenience, but I think we're putting they're using Danica because she is a character that we're dealing with posthumously. She's using her way too heavily to move her larger secret-y like subplot.
Yeah,
it's
and
too
she
much.
Didn't need to do it. You have people who haven't been unalived, right? I like that.
There you go.
That could be doing the same thing and better. Without having to ruin your experience that you had in the first book.
Yeah,
and that's what it does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
It's really awful.
There are some other plot lines.
Super unsteady, super weird pacing. There is a mystery that you're trying to figure out. So Rune is somehow being able to like mind meld with a secret agent. And so he's going by night, right? And she's day.
Yeah, she's day. That's kind of cute.
Yeah, it is super cute. No, everything about that's super cute. So you're trying to figure out who Day is. And I think she covered her track.
Kel's surprise. I was. I mean, I kind of saw.
I feel like she covered it up pretty well. I mean, I think that there was some eyebrow raising.
I thought it was going to be hypaxia or something. I was like,
it couldn't be hypaxia. Well, I mean, but you find out.
Well, no, I was
the
sure.
Two people that you think that it could have been.
No, yeah. By the time
they cancel each other out.
By the time I got to the closet scene, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was like,
no.
Off the list. I knew it was going to be either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then it was, and I honestly, I still haven't decided how I feel about it.
I feel like we need way more backstory on that particular character.
Yeah, you're going to have to really bring me around.
She is a very, very dark shade of gray at this point. She needs to be lightened up a little bit.
She's very charcoal. She's charcoal. There at it.
But it's not even just about this whole kind of secret agent thing going on, but what she's doing to maintain this cover to herself I mean, she's she's having it with that. No. So like that's
I don't think I
commitment
like
to
it.
the cause. So I need to know what got her there.
But I also like
be willing to do
because
that,
the implication,
do
right,
that.
is that her and Rune are
mates.
Yeah. Or
Oh, for sure.
I don't know how I feel. I don't know. You're gonna have to really sell me on a backstory because I'll be honest with you right now. Like the way the Rebels are written, I'm not really feeling it. Like I'm not unsympathetic to the ideal, right? The ideals of the cause.
It's not developed enough.
But it does matter to me. The means matter to me. The method matters to me as a person. And so, like, right now, it just seems like they're being led by one crazy person after another. So I'm just like...
the problem is we're so focused on things happening, like, that are really tight. But there is this huge war happening. And we spend zero time
on it.
But that is the focus of what they're trying... And it just... They don't connect.
She's got a lot of work to do in the third book to get me with her. Because the whole thing, like I said, this is a much more politically driven. The whole thing is about this war. It is about this kind of, this caste structural, hierarchy. It is about that. This whole war, this whole thing, all these mysteries. So but I feel like she has so much work to do in the third book to wrap this up in any kind of way that is like...
And then she introduced quite a doozy at the end.
Wowza.
So just blew it up. Blew it up.
Okay. Here's my problem with that.
Blew it up. Blew it up.
This is my problem with that. I don't see how you're going to be able to get her back and solve all this other stuff that she's left opened in a book.
Well, if we think,
I just really don't
think these ones are chunky.
I just don't see how she's going to be able to do it in a way that is... I'm excited. I'm here to see how it's done. But I feel like something's going to have to be sacrificed. And so either it's going to be like... It's going to play really cheaply in the sense of like, oh, poof, we're there. And then poof, she figures out how to go back. And like, there was nothing.
What a tease.
What a tease.
What a tease.
Or we're going to spend way too long on that, and I'm going to spend the whole... It's very Tower of Dawn, right? It just leaves you absolutely hanging. We're going to go pick up on a completely different
Empire
story
Storms.
trail. Empire Storms, yeah. And then it's like... And then we go back to figure out what happens to like Rune and Hunt, and like, I just don't see how she's going to do it. And at the moment, I'm honestly just so mad about it. I'm just like, I cannot believe that's where you left me.
It is like I like to label middle books often. This is an Empire Strikes Back book. No one's in a really good spot, except you're desperate to know what's going to happen.
This is why I don't read series until they're finished, Rachel. This is why. Because the emotional cliffhanger.
It's major.
And now I'm going to have to live with it.
But the most fun about this, and we'll explore this in our next episode when we kind of wrap up our mass versus mass versus mass, is all of the theories. We won't talk about them all, but we'll mention a couple. But like,
there's a lot.
You spent any time on Book Talk?
You've been on the internet lately.
Flooded. And some of the more interesting ones I might reference. But anyway, so overall thoughts about Crescent City.
Okay. I liked the first book very much. The jury is still out on the second book, because the second book to me is going to be very dependent on where the third book goes. Like, if she leaves a lot of these threads hanging, and I don't get what I feel is a satisfactory resolution, then it's going to be, I'm probably going to dislike the second book. But if this is just a stepping stone to get to some really cool resolution, that could redeem it. But right now, the first book is the best one. I don't know that I would recommend this series to people at this moment, because at the moment I'm just very frustrated, and she just dropped so many plot lines. She explored way too many things in the second book and didn't
follow
I
through
think
on any of them.
it's like you said with the pacing. She went down too many rabbit holes that dead ended.
I mean, for this page count, like...
Yeah, like, what's the whole Therian plot about? What's that for?
Got nothing.
Also, that whole thing with, like, the River Queen's daughter, I mean, I just feel, honestly, I feel bad for the River Queen's daughter. She sounds like she's just like a sheltered little.
I think she trapped him into it though, so I don't know if she's really all that innocent. But like,
well, that's the thing. I don't think she's innocent. But
we don't know.
But I was like,
we don't know
here's
anything.
the thing. But what's the point?
What was the point?
Also, why he don't want you?
I mean, the ones that the
why?
things obviously that I think I want to see in this one is the alpha she-wolf situation going on
For sure.
with Ethan. Sounds fabulous. And then of course where we leave off with Bryce.
Yeah,
probably number one in everyone's mind.
I want to know what's happening to Hunt and Rune.
And I got to know
care
what
more
happened to
about that.
Adis and where he is. I have some ideas.
Oh, and I want to know what happens with the dragon.
The dragon that just fails to show up for guard duty and then just flippity-flops off. And so we don't know where she went, and Flynn's pretty pissed about it.
Yeah, I don't understand Flynn's level of
Something
ire.
going on there.
There's got to be something going on there because otherwise, like, it was an enslaved creature. She had an opportunity to get free. Of course she took it. But he's taking it, like, far more, like, personally than makes sense to me, considering all he did was open the ring. Like, he's not even the one who stole the rings.
He's a little too emotionally distraught.
Yeah. I don't get it. It is an interesting portrayal of a dragon, that the dragon is trapped in a humanoid form. I am finding that very interesting and intriguing as an idea, that because I do want to know how she got trapped in that form.
We got a lot of backstories to explore. If we're going to go over that, and we're going to go over Day's background, which is going to take some pages, I feel like.
You're really going to have to sell me on her,
because we got Rune, we got Bryce to an overwhelming degree at this point.
She's scary.
We've got to focus on some other
Hypaxia.
characters.
I want to know where that's going.
Nowhere.
Like, but the whole thing with her being a necromancer and her coven wanting to, like, there's tension in her coven.
I forgot about the necromancy.
Yeah.
See, I haven't read that. I only read this one.
All her tutors are undead people, basically. Like, that was super interesting. Like, they remember the time before the Asteri. So, like, they're this wealth of information that we haven't even tapped. I'm like, dang, we could have done that and not gone to many of the terribly ending situations.
Well, we'll talk more about the Asteri in the next episode.
Yeah. So, overall, we're undecided. Mildly annoyed. Maybe not mildly. We're annoyed.
It
was frustrating.
I will compare this to another mass book as well. But, like, yeah. Just a lot of wasted time. And poor plotting.
Yeah, just spinning in the mud. Spinning our tires in the mud.
Mm-hmm. And, like, the thing is like, Sarah J. Maas is always going to have some standout scenes. Like, we talked about, like,
she's a good writer.
The boys in the house are hilarious. There are some good scenes between Bryce and Hunt. Like, you get
if you're looking for steamy, it's in there.
Yeah, but it took a good chunk though. Much longer than I thought to get there. But that's, whatever. We got there. And those scenes are always written very well. She writes Spice very well, I think. And
sure.
Well, okay, well, I'm going to show you some bad Spice and then we can
No.
She does write it very well. And
I believe her relationships. And she has, and that's the thing. You got to give her the chops. It's creative.
The world building is
exceptional. I'm just frustrated that I just am ready to get there. But
the character development and the plot motion. It's just not there.
Jury's out. Because very dependent on what happens in the third book, whether book 2 was a total wash for me or.
She's got a lot of things to connect.
So right now I would say don't read it. Wait till the third one comes out.
And you're probably gonna be waiting for like at least another year and a half.
Definitely worth the wait then, because I hate this emotional turmoil. You have set me up for over a year of angst.
I will go back and I will reread it before. I was trying to do that with these ones. I'll go back and reread.
I'm not going to speak. I used to think a year wasn't a long time, and then we were in the pandemic, and I think a year can be a very long time. I don't want to speak for what future Amanda's going to do. Who knows?
You'll read it. You'll have to know. You'll want to know.
I'll read the third one. It'll be if I reread it. No, I'm for sure. I think I'll make you read it first, and then tell me the highlights, and then I'll go read it. I think I could sweet talk you into it.
Well, I hate sitting on secrets. I'm not good. My hair's very flat. It's not full of secrets. So I kind of let everything out of the bag. So, yeah. No, there's definitely some things to weigh in. And that's what we will talk about in our next episode.
Yeah, so in our next episode, we will wrap up all of our thoughts about Moss and her 3 different series as we wrap up Faye May and as we close out the school year. Woo, woo, woo. Mm-hmm. Woo, 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 woo. We almost made it. Goodness. We can do it. So, let us know what you think. Have you read Crescent City? let us know in the comments. If you will wait for a series to be over, put that in the comments too. I'll feel much more solidified in my opinion. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye.